What's up, baddies? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that has completely taken over social media, Bravo fan circles, and honestly, anyone who's ever watched a Kandi Burruss confessional and said, that woman works too hard to be dealing with nonsense. Because baby, the divorce saga between Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker has gone from amicable to nuclear almost overnight. We're talking prenup challenges, custody wars, accusations of pressure and manipulation, hidden resentment, financial demands, and even the possibility that Todd had this whole thing planned from the very beginning. That's right, from day one. So grab your snacks, grab your drinks, grab your stress balls if you need to, because this tea is boiling hot, and we're about to go step by step through everything that's unfolding in real time. Let's start at the point where everything began unraveling, the house situation. Before the split was even official, conversations were happening about what would be fair if they ever broke up, whether they should sell the house, downsize, or make sure no one gets stuck living somewhere they can't afford on their own. Conversations that normal couples do have. But the tone of these conversations with Todd, girl, a little too hypothetical, a little too specific, a little too invested in the idea of divorce preparations for someone who supposedly believed the marriage would last forever. And that's why so many people are side-eyeing him now. What added fuel to the fire is the fact that Todd seemed less concerned about fairness and more focused on positioning himself. There were moments where, instead of discussing practical shared responsibilities, he'd throw out comments like, well, if we break up, what do I get? Or, what would you do with your money then? And these weren't occasional jokes. His whole vibe suggested that he was already mapping out potential scenarios in his head long before the marriage was even shaky. That's why some fans believe this wasn't just a breakup. This was a strategy that had been quietly building. And baby, Mama Joyce might be out here somewhere celebrating, because she practically prophesied all of this. She said from the beginning that Todd was a smooth-talking opportunist with a big head and big ambitions for Kandi's wallet. And as much as people said she was overprotective or dramatic, she might have been more right than anyone gave her credit for. Once the divorce became public, Kandi tried her absolute best to present a calm, mature front. She swore this wouldn't be one of those celebrity divorces filled with chaos. She said she and Todd were too friendly for that, too sensible, too balanced. She painted a picture of cooperation, and honestly, the world believed her. Kandi has always handled business like a professional, so people assumed the breakup would look the same way. But all of that flew out the window the moment Todd filed a formal response with the court. Not only did he challenge her custody requests, but he went straight for the jugular. He demanded the prenup be thrown out. According to Todd, he was pressured into signing the prenup. He says he was forced to agree to something he didn't want. He says he only had a few hours before the wedding to go over the terms and didn't have his lawyer present. He claims he felt manipulated and had no chance to negotiate. Here's the problem with that narrative. The footage exists. We all watched the wedding special. On camera, Todd pretended to be shocked at the idea of a prenup, even though Kandi had told him repeatedly that she wanted one. He called his lawyer didn't answer. Kandi called her lawyer, and they picked up on the first ring. And then the truth slipped out. Todd hadn't been honest with his own legal team. He didn't tell them Kandi had already arranged to split company earnings fairly and include Todd in joint ventures. He left out information that would have made his own negotiation process easier. He got caught lying by omission on national television. So when Todd now says he didn't understand the prenup, honey, the tape is literally right there. Kandi's lawyers know it, Bravo producers know it, and Kandi herself fully leaned into that when she told the judge she wants the footage reviewed. She said, roll the tapes. That level of confidence is not something you have when you're lying. That's something you say when you know the receipts are on your side. Here's where things take a darker turn. People online have started to connect the dots between Todd's comments over the years and the moves he's making now. There are hours of footage from Todd's own YouTube channel where he complains about not getting enough credit, not getting enough financial recognition, not being treated the way he thinks he should be treated by a woman who is already wealthy and successful before he ever entered the picture. He's repeatedly brought up money, repeatedly brought up entitlement, repeatedly implied that simply being with Kandi should guarantee him a certain lifestyle. And if you think that's not shady enough, people noticed how often Todd fantasized about scenarios involving divorce, breakup settlements, and what he'd be owed. Not in a playful way, in a serious, I'm taking mental notes way. It didn't look spontaneous. It looked like preparation. That's why #SchemeTodd started trending. Folks genuinely believe this was his plan all along, especially once allegations surfaced about his cheating, which Kandi defended him over for years. She protected him against her mother, her aunt, Portia, Phaedra, the entire RHOA fandom. And now it feels like he waited until the moment was perfect to hit her where it hurts. Whether that's true or not, the writing on the wall is messy. Now, let's talk about the custody battle, because this part is messy in its own way. In her filing, Kandi requested joint custody of Ace and Blaze. She didn't try to take anything from him. She wasn't trying to cut him out of parenting. She simply asked for joint legal and physical custody. Todd's response? Full custody. He claims he's the primary caretaker because Kandi travels for work and the kids supposedly spend more time with him. He says he has the receipts to prove it. And in the event the judge doesn't give him full custody, he wants primary custody with joint legal rights. Now, here's the nuance. What Todd said isn't that unusual. Any parent could claim a similar arrangement if the other parent is extremely busy with work commitments. But the timing is what's questionable, because instead of simply discussing custody as co-parents, he folded it into a larger legal attack that includes alimony, child support, modifications to the prenup, and even claims involving royalties from Kandi's productions and music. It's giving less, I want to protect the kids, and more, I want to secure more leverage. And that's what's leaving a bitter taste in everybody's mouth. Now, let's discuss the financial portion, because this is where the motives get even clearer. The prenup, as written, doesn't leave Todd destitute. Contrary to popular belief, Kandi didn't write something harsh and cold. The agreement simply says that whatever Kandi earned before the marriage stays hers, and that if they divorce, Todd has 30 days to move out of her house. Everything they built together, like their production projects and old lady gang businesses, would be divided appropriately. But here's the catch. Their joint businesses weren't all that profitable. Some of their ventures struggled financially, and Kandi even acknowledged marital debts in her filing. She didn't try to dump them on Todd. She said they'd be split. So when Todd goes after royalty claims and requests adjustments to the prenup, it almost seems like he's trying to retroactively rewrite history. He's arguing that because he participated in her creative process, even though Kandi had a thriving career before him, he should receive long-term financial benefits. And this is someone who repeatedly expressed resentment over Kandi being more successful. Someone who openly talked about past partners catering to him like he was a billionaire, despite them not having much themselves. Someone who said on camera that he should get things simply because he was there. When you put all that together, it paints a very calculated picture. One of the most surreal parts of this whole situation is that reality TV, the same industry that helped launch Todd's public persona, might be the evidence that ends up hurting him the most in court. Kandi's lawyer directly referenced scenes from the Real Housewives wedding special. They pointed out that Todd verbally confirmed on camera that he was fine signing the prenup after talking with his lawyers. That is a legal goldmine. Most people going through messy divorces don't have their negotiations, arguments, private conversations, and lawyer discussions filmed in HD with Bravo production lighting. But Todd does. And if the court reviews that footage, his claims about being uninformed or pressured might fall apart instantly. Meanwhile, Kandi, who has always taken her contract seriously, comes across as consistent, clear, structured. She said what she wanted. She didn't waver. She didn't hide anything. She communicated her expectations from day one. So if Todd thought he could twist that narrative later, he might have underestimated how airtight Bravo footage can be. Let's talk about the woman who has been the center of controversy since the moment Todd stepped into Kandi's life, Mama Joyce. People used to say she was out of line, that she was messy, that she was sabotaging her daughter's happiness for no reason. But now people are looking at this divorce and going, hold on, maybe Mama Joyce wasn't hating, maybe she was warning. However, for months, Kandi and Todd tried to present this breakup as mature, calm, and amicable. Kandi especially went out of her way to assure people that their split wasn't going to be like the typical chaotic Hollywood divorces. She insisted that she and Todd were still friendly, still respectful, and still unified when it came to co-parenting. She kept saying there would be no drama, no court battles, no legal war. But now, based on the filings, she was either trying to protect their image or she genuinely didn't realize that Todd had a completely different plan behind the scenes. Because the moment Todd submitted his legal response, everything changed. Suddenly, he wasn't just disagreeing with minor details. He wasn't just asking to negotiate a parenting schedule. He wasn't even simply asking for support. No, Todd went straight for the jugular. He told the court he wants their prenups thrown out entirely. He claimed he signed it under pressure, that he didn't want to agree to it, and that he was forced into something he never believed was fair from the start. And the moment that hit the internet, social media exploded. Because we all remember how that prenup went down. We all watched the wedding special. We all saw the conversations on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Kandi told him well before the wedding that a prenup was non-negotiable. She repeated it several times. She never changed her stance. But the second she brought the paperwork out, Todd started acting brand new. Calling his lawyer, pretending he was confused, making excuses, and dragging the process out. Now here's where things get especially messy. During the actual filming of their wedding special, we watched Todd try everything he could to delay signing that prenup. He claimed his lawyer wasn't answering, he said he needed more time, he acted like this was all being sprung on him out of nowhere, even though Kandi had literally been telling him from day one that she required it. And then, on camera, we see something that's coming back to bite him in court right now. He misled his own legal counsel. Kandi's lawyer revealed during filming that Todd hadn't fully informed his attorneys about certain financial details, specifically that Kandi was already splitting their joint ventures and shared business earnings fairly. He knew what the agreement was. He was acting like he didn't. And what makes the moment unforgettable is how clearly it exposed Todd's behavior. While Kandi was being straightforward, open, and transparent, Todd was ducking and dodging his own lawyer and then lying by omission to make himself seem confused. So for him to now claim he was manipulated into signing, it's not a good look. And Kandi knows this because in her filing, she told the judge to roll the footage. She wants the court to review the actual filmed evidence showing Todd acknowledging the prenup, agreeing to the prenup, and confidently signing the prenup on national television. He even said after speaking to his lawyer that he was fine signing it. In other words, he can't now claim he didn't understand what he agreed to. The receipts are sitting right there in HD. But what shocked fans even more was what Todd included in the rest of his legal filing. Not only did he ask for alimony, but he is demanding full custody of their children. Full. Not joint, not primary, full. Todd claims he has always been the primary caretaker, that the kids spend most of their time with him, and that Kandi's busy travel schedule means he should have the majority of parenting responsibilities. Now, to be fair, Todd does acknowledge that Kandi is a good mother. He doesn't try to say she's neglectful or unfit, but he paints a picture that seems designed to create an imbalance, one where he appears as the stable, consistent parent, and Kandi looks like someone too consumed by work to be present. And in some ways, this is clearly strategic. He knows Kandi is performing on Broadway, he knows she travels constantly, he knows her schedule has always been demanding. But demanding schedules don't equal bad parenting. Plenty of celebrity parents work nonstop without losing custody. What makes this concerning is how Todd is using their lifestyle, a lifestyle Kandi built, as ammunition. And it's not lost on fans that he's doing this while also trying to secure access to her money. So now the public is asking what many have wondered for years. Was Todd waiting for the right moment to strike? Was he documenting, planning, and preparing for this outcome the whole time? Because here's where things get really suspicious. Long before the divorce was public, Todd posted hours of conversations and videos on his YouTube channel. And these aren't harmless blogs. These videos are filled with him talking about what he deserves from Kandi, how much credit he doesn't get, how he isn't appreciated, and what he would or could get if they ever split. He talked about previous relationships where women catered to him like he was a billionaire. He complained about not getting enough recognition. He implied that being with Kandi came with financial expectations she wasn't meeting. And these weren't little offhand comments said in passing. These were full conversations where he repeatedly returned to the theme of deserving more. He made it clear he resented being seen as the one benefiting from her success, even though that's objectively true. And the timing of these videos now looks less like harmless oversharing and more like the early stages of a plan. Because when someone publicly talks over and over again about what they're owed, and then suddenly asks the court for money, royalties, full custody, and a nullified prenup, yeah, that raises eyebrows. And this is the part where Mama Joyce's name is being brought up all over social media, which is wild because for years she has been dragged for her suspicions. Mama Joyce always believed Todd didn't have the right intentions for Kandi. She warned Kandi, she warned Kandi's friends, she warned their entire audience. And Kandi defended Todd every single time. She defended him against cheating accusations. She defended him when people questioned his motives. She defended him when Mama Joyce said he was an opportunist. She defended him to her castmates, to the world, and even to her own family. But now that all this is happening, people are revisiting those warnings and realizing Mama Joyce might not have been bitter. She might have been right. Because the way Todd is coming after Kandi now is cold. He's not just asking for fairness. He's not asking for compromise. He's not asking for something reasonable. He's going after everything: the kids, the money, the house, and even her right to protect what she earned before she ever met him. And when you look at how deeply Kandi trusted him, invested in him, and built with him, it feels like betrayal. And let's talk about the business aspect, because that's important. When people say Todd helped build Kandi's empire, that narrative needs clarification. Yes, they launched businesses together. Yes, Todd worked in production. Yes, some ventures were collaborative. But let's be honest, Kandi walked into this marriage already established, already wealthy, already successful. Todd did not make Kandi, but Kandi absolutely elevated Todd. And even then, many of their joint projects struggled. Old Lady Gang had its ups and downs. Their related ventures faced criticism and operational issues. Kandi is the name that brought attention. Kandi is the brand that brought customers. Todd was part of it, but he wasn't the foundation. She said Todd was opportunistic. She said he was with Kandi for what she could offer. She said he wasn't on her daughter's level financially or spiritually. She said something shady would happen eventually. And while her delivery might have been intense, her core concerns may have been valid. Because when a man who was once praising Kandi and bragging about their open marriage and their shared businesses suddenly flips into, I deserve more, I want full custody, I want to break the prenup, after allegations of his cheating came out, yeah, that raises eyebrows. It raises a whole forest of eyebrows. Kandi went to bat for that man against everybody: friends, castmates, the public, and even her own family. And to watch him now maneuver in a way that feels like a legal ambush, it's heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time. So now I want to ask y'all, do you think Todd planned this from the beginning? Do you think he set up a long-term scheme? Or is the internet overreacting and turning this divorce into something more sinister than it really is? Because the timing, the footage, the comments, the resentment, the custody demands, the attempt to break the prenup, everything is adding up in a way that doesn't sit right. Let me know your thoughts down below. Drop your theories, drop your opinions, drop your experiences if you've ever dealt with someone who seemed to switch up the moment it benefited them. And make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because baby, this divorce is just getting started. Thanks for watching, baddies. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.